but I think most Crows supporters, Keith, just want to talk about the performance, the game itself on Saturday night, because it was terrific. Morning, Bone.
Morning, boys. Yeah, it was a fantastic game. It was a little scrappy in the first half. I think those that were there and saw it just saw some genuine pressure and maybe some finals nerves. And it was our man, Taylor Walker, who probably turned the game. He hadn't had a kick for the first quarter and a bit. He beat two West Coast Eagles defenders and then kicked a super goal from about 65. It was a moment of class that just turned the game.
Not just a second effort, but a third.
Not just a second effort, but a third. And, you know, hearing Brendan Sanderson speak about him afterwards, even he acknowledged, look, we were just thinking, sub him off, get rid of him, put him away, just put him to bed, left him on for a moment, and what a good moment it was.
We'll take up some of those big issues outside the game with Bone after 8:30 this morning, but meanwhile we have Crow star Patrick Dangerfield on the blower. Morning, Patrick.
Good morning, boys. Sorry I can't be there this morning.
No, it's fine. We understand as a leader you've got a meeting, so that's the way it is. You're so excited by the meetings, aren't you?
Well, we're jamming a lot into the next couple of days because we've obviously we've got the weekend off this week, so we've got Wednesday, Thursday off, and also the weekend. So we'll have a session on Friday, and the boys will have a chance to freshen up over the next week. So,
what do you take out of the win? Bones already pointed out to us earlier in the program. You were very measured in terms of your reaction on the ground, but what does it mean to you, the playing group?
I think it was a really good game. It was a heated game. Certainly the first half, it had that feel of a home and away game because it was very intense. The structures for both teams, I think, were probably a bit, it was more almost that finals-like intensity because we were just hacking it forward and both sides were doing the same thing. But certainly we've built that winning momentum from, the first NAB Cup game to the last NAB Cup game. And for us now, it's about bringing that into the main season and consistently performing to that level.
Got to talk about a couple of individuals, young Patrick, and we've got to start with Bernie Vince. It had been a difficult week for him, even by his own admission after the game when he took the medal. From the first minute, he was on song.
Yeah, he's spot on, Bone. His first quarter was absolutely phenomenal. We caught up yesterday as a group at the Alma and had a few drinks and just a bit of a relax after a long pre-season, and I said to Sando, geez, every time I looked up, Bernie had it in the first quarter, and he was absolutely sensational throughout the game, and we'll certainly be looking for that sort of performance week in, week out throughout the year this year.
Hey, just as a little sideline, you're going to have to handle him very gently this week because would you believe it's just come out? He and Bruce Chattay have made Cleo's eligible bachelor list for 2012.
Truth, look out, Keith.
Hey, Paddy, not just Bernie, I mean, I guess as an experienced player stepping up to the plate, but a couple of young kids who we've spoken a little bit about over the pre-season that probably went from pencil to pen for the lineup in the first game. Sammy Shaw was one who I thought was his best game for the pre-season, and Tommy Lynch another, second half only, but 9 marks, 14 touches, and again he was Eddie everywhere.
Yeah, he certainly was, and he's been doing it for the last 3 weeks. Last week he played a very similar role, and he had 14 touches and kicked 3. This week he's had 14 touches again, and as you said, 9 marks. But I think it's his work rate really. I think opponents underestimate. He constantly leads up, constantly leads back, and I'll give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, he played a half, and then after the game, he came in, and then he went and did a treadmill run. Like, it's just his work ethic that just really separates him, and I think that's why he's going to be a successful player, because he just works so hard on ground and in his preparation leading up to games.
Paddy, I was talking to a Crow supporter yesterday, and they were tending to discount the performance on Saturday night, saying that West Coast, weren't really trying all that hard. I was at the ground. It looked pretty fierce to me. How fierce a game was that?
Yeah, I spoke to Scotty Thompson after the game, and we certainly thought the heat was certainly in it. Obviously, with our performances over the last couple of years, I suppose people have a reason to doubt us, but we certainly don't doubt ourselves in the performances that we've put in. And, we're feeling really positive towards the round one and certainly the season coming. So there's a great feeling around the club at the moment. We felt the intensity was, right in the game of the weekend, which is a really good thing for us because it's a great preparation for round one of the season. But certainly I felt the game was of high quality and a real, I suppose, intense feel about it. There might not have been, I suppose, great skills in that first half because it's pretty low scoring, but I still think the intensity in the game was right up, and the speed in the game was right up.
Patrick, one of the really tough issues for the club in this fortnight is who dips out. The Crows have tried 38 players. How many do you reckon are sort of guaranteed? How many are in the starting list right now?
Yeah, it's a tough question because I think, for that starting 22, there's probably 30 players that could easily fit into it, which is a really healthy position for us to be in. But in terms of definites for the 22, I couldn't give you an answer because there's been such an even spread throughout the games. There's been no one that's really stood out and just dominated. It's been really even spread from the entire group, which is, I think, what you need these days. You can't just rely on one or two players to get the job done, and I think that's what's going to make us.
I think what we've been
this year.
Paddy, what we've been impressed by is your fitness, and it's always been a perceived strength of Neil Craig, or an obvious strength of Neil Craig, that we are very. Adelaide's been a very fit team, but it looks like you've taken it to another level. I'm not sure if you have or not, and certainly in strength, in terms of strength, there is a noticeable difference.
Yeah, it's a hard one to measure by, because I suppose in previous seasons we've done a lot of bike. This season we haven't, and call it luck, call it what you will, but I suppose we've got through the pre-season and we've got no injuries, and I think that plays a massive role in how your season sort of pans out. And touch wood, we don't have any from now to round one, but to be able to select from 48 players, apart from Ben Rutten, and Dougie probably could have played this week, so apart from Benny Rutten, it's a full strength list, and I'm sure he'll be available for selection for round one. So to have that sort of internal pressure, I think, is what really. I'm not sure if it's the fitness that makes the difference, or the internal pressure, knowing that if you do not perform, then the chance that you're not going to get a game. So I think that internal pressure is what really puts blokes under heat, and I think it leads to really good performances.
Patrick, just finally a question outside the game. The issue of racism visited the Adelaide Footy Club. You've lost the senior recruiting man. Was it discussed amongst the players?
No, to be honest, it wasn't, because it's been such an interesting week for us in terms of, it would have been great to have just focused on a football game for the Saturday, but we've had quite a few issues throughout the week. But certainly I think it came at a time we had sort of the Friday off, so there wasn't too much time to really discuss it. So, no, the boys haven't really spoken about it, to be honest, Keith.
Okay. We look forward to talking to you next week. And the weeks off are not exactly easy these days, are they?
Well, we'll find out. We've got Wednesday, Thursday off, and hopefully I'd like to go for a fish, so that's my plan. But Friday's a big session, apparently, so maybe my hamstrings are just going to tighten up a little bit and I might miss it.
Oh, yeah. 2 charges. Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, boys.
Crow star Patrick Dangerfield. Bone, just before you go, Tom Lynch, very quickly, will he fit into the Crows forward line with Kurt Tippett, Taylor Walker? Who else is up there?
He's in. Jason Paul-Please, he's in. He'll play, no question. He's penned in. They can fit him into that 22-man lineup. Will he be a sub? Possibly. I mean, he seems to fit that role quite nicely. And I mean, the great question to Paddy about how many are secure. I think there's 20 out of the 22. I reckon there's a couple of floaters. I reckon there's 20 that are penned and a couple that aren't.